Hello everyone. You might have seen my previous session where I have shown you the containerization of existing application, that is personal information based API, which we have created on the process of full stack Java development. That REST API I have shown you how to create a Docker file for jar and var. Jar is basically Java archive, var is basically web archive, and how you can create image for that particular application on Docker, and how you are going to run a container, right? To run the application on Docker, I have shown you that. As in one of the previous session, I said you application context will remove and will make this whole application as an annotation application, being annotation application without any context XML. So today I'm going to do that same thing here. Let's go and start the work, right? Let's go and start it. So if you see, this is Eclipse. I will create a project and I will download. I will download this. Uh, I will download this same project from my Git location. Same project from the Git location. See, I did a import. I did a import and then I found it is showing me deployment descriptor. It is showing me JAX-WS web service. These are not required. JAX-WS web service is basically SOAP-based web service, SOAP protocol-based web service, and deployment descriptor is basically your web.xml. In Spring Embassy application or in SOAP-based web services, when you write, you have a web.xml that is called deployment descriptor. Always all these applications they go through a servlet. If you have a servlet, then definitely you will have a deployment executor, which will always define to the initial servlet of the particular web application. These are not required. I think these are showing only because of we have extended Spring Boot servlet, to make the application runnable on Tomcat, external Tomcat. That may be the reason why this deployment executor and checks WS web service is showing here. Anyway, I'm going to create a new project here, and that project I will copy the content from the downloaded source code from Git. That is again my source code only, and copy paste it here. We'll keep the package complete example because the group ID, because the same project, the package structure same, it helps us. So I'll make this project in Spring annotation REST API. Let's go to the Git. See, this is the Git link. I will download this. If there is anything in the downloaded location, yes. So let me delete this one. Existing one is there. I'll go and download. Go to the project folder, right? Java project. Here I'll copy that file and paste it and download from Git folder. Yes. So it is done. Just now downloaded. I'll just extract everything here. The extraction is done. You see, the same project, right? So here, let's see the project creation is done or not. Yeah, it's almost there. So Spring Annotation REST API is here, right? So let's go to the source and main resource folder. Now, to copy the content from the Git folder, Git downloaded folder to our Eclipse project. See resource, I will not copy your application context XML, I will only copy the log4j XML. And then all the source code, that is the whole Java folder, I will copy. I copied the Java folder, I copied this. Now the thing here is resource. Now the thing here is form.xml. You have to add all the dependencies to bring to that level of the project, right? Now, yeah, so I'll copy it from that particular existing form. This is what, right? Form.xml. I'll open it. Yes. So from line number 11 or 10, line number 10 or 11, I'll copy from line number 10 to, I will copy this line number 2265. Right? So here it is line number 10, paste it, it goes till 263.65, right? So this is, we made this project or we brought this project to the actual state now. What state it has. Right? If I run the main method, it will, I can run it to make it a Java archive or web archive. It's a runnable project, so I don't want to run it anything. You can download directly, and if you follow the readme file comments, you will be able to run this project. So for doing the changes, what all is needed? In the source folder, we need to have one application.properties file instead of application context XML. So let me create that application.properties file in the source folder. Here you have application.properties file. The content, I will add it. Before adding, let's go here and check. Person dio class, this is the class which you will change. And service class is calling this person dio class, so person service class also need to be changed. And then REST API or REST controller is calling this service class. So REST controller is also need to be changed, and main class is also need to be changed, right? And then dio class, that class we don't need to change anything, but yeah, I want to explain you something, so that we will do. So let's go to the dio class first. Here, this class will be a component class. Also, you can add repository. It's a database class, so we'll add repository. Here, you can enable transaction directly here itself. In that case, in XML, I have to enable transaction in application context XML. Here, you put the annotation and it works. Here, the session factory segregators are not required. No more injection to context XML. So there is no segregator is required. Only annotation will be work. And this get session, the factory will use this dot session, right? That time also it is using this dot session. Now also it will use this dot session upon session, and this dot session will be injected by Spring Boot to this class. Now let's go back to the person service class. In person service class, person dio need to go to where? Person dio class session factory need to go to where? That I missed. Is auto where? Person service person dio is auto where? Right? And then going back to the this class or person information, right? Here it is already a controller, so we just need to have configuration, add that configuration. Coming back to person service class, here AutoWare is added, but at the class level, it will be again a component. And again, along with that, what we need to add? Service. We will tag it as a service class. That is a repository class, this is a service class. Then going back to the here we will comment out this application context in line number 25. Now the reason behind that we don't need this anymore. So if you see in line number 30, the application context XML, that also we don't need, because we don't need any application context XML. We don't need to initialize the context XML. And if I comment that, I will get an error in line number 38. If you see line number 38, I don't need your, no, I don't need this get bin of person service. Now let me sign out from my GitHub. Yeah. So I don't need person service get bin. I'll let one more error here is that is in create. Here also I don't need, right? So I commented out. Now how this person service get injected by the Spring Boot auto configuration. So auto add. Auto add. So this is the till the person information API level we have configured all these classes. See, person DAO, enable transaction repository component session factory auto add. In person service, service, component, auto add. If you want to know about this this thing, I've already explained in one of the session. You can go and watch that video. How this works, what are the how the bins are created, how it works. I've explained it. So coming back to the main, and if you don't find more information, you want to know more information, message me on this video or mail me or message me on the LinkedIn. I will definitely help you out to learn, right? So coming back to here, in this REST controller, I need to add, the main class @component and @component scan @entity here configuration. Okay? These all need to be added. And here, see, last time when the application context XML was there, data source configuration, data source transaction configuration, Hibernate JPA auto configuration was, excluded. The reason behind that, I don't want Spring Boot to configure session factory for me or data source for me. I was configuring and giving or injecting it at the data access object layer, that is through Spring Context XML. Now, since Spring Context XML is not there, I will ask this application will ask Spring Boot to initialize and inject. So we need to comment out this particular piece of code. Here, when I'm saying entity scan, so which all package it will scan for entity classes. You know what is entity classes? Entity classes are the class which map to our database table, right? So these are the classes or value object, data object, or data transfer object, which actually map to tables in our database. We can call it as when Hibernate is using a HBM file. In that HBM file, we used to define object mapping with the tables, right? Object mapping with the tables, property mapping with the column of, or property mapping with the column of the tables. So here, which all classes it should scan? It should scan com dot example dot satya dot view. This is the package. It should go and scan for the all value object. Here you see this is the person. Yes, this is a table person entity. Package is com.example.satya.view. Right? This is the class it is going to load for Hibernate configuration. That is the reason we need to put entity scan and component scan. Which all package it should scan for the component, right? So base packages. Yeah, it is com dot example. I will tell it in my base package. Go and scan from com.example to all other packages for component. Right? This is what the basic things I need to do. And the other thing is, as I said, we'll first look for the Java archive. If Java archive is working, we'll enable web archive. Definitely it will work for web archive or a WAR file. WAR is basically web archive. JAR is basically Java archive. Sometimes web archive is called as web application archive. So this is how the application here. And let's go further, you know, test this application. I have not added the dependencies. Still, the POM needed, few dependencies for enabling this configuration. And before that, I need to add properties also, right? I'll copy these properties from my, I have already uh, created these properties or what are properties I needed. I have it in your this notepad plus plus file. I'll copy these all properties. I tested these all properties, seeing that this application is running properly. That's how I identified we need to have string JPA hybrid naming physical strategies. User naming strategy need to be configured in this properties file. I will explain these naming strategies, what are these naming strategies, and why we need these naming strategies, strategy property configuration here. I will explain not now, after some time. So if you see this little information, right? Spring data source dot URL. These all are directly coming from the Spring context, Spring application context XML. You see here the properties from line number 26 to line number 29. These are the properties which they have configured. See, nothing is there. Only thing in properties file, always you have to write with key value pair, and you should know what key will have what value. So these keys are important. Spring data source dot URL and the value, what need to be configured, right? Spring dot data source dot username. If you write spring dot data source dot URL, your data source configuration, auto data source configuration, they will read this key and the value, and accordingly they will configure. Similarly, if you write spring dot jpa dot properties dot hibernate, automatically your Hibernate configuration, they will read these values and configure SSL factory for you. Now, since this is done, let's go and run this main method. If I run this main method, since dependencies are not added, it will give Hibernate session factory error. See, if I maximize it, Hibernate.session factory that could not be found or injected, right? Even though everything is configured, it is not able to do that. The dependencies is missing, so I'll add these dependencies into this application. And this is a form file that is JPA data, string JPA data dependencies. I copy it from the another project. Let's go down. Yeah. So this is string data JPA. This is needed. String data JPA I have added here. I will close this file so that it will not be any confusion here. Once you add these dependencies, sometime it will reflect, sometime it won't reflect. So what the basic thing is, when you add this dependencies, always go and do a Maven build so that you know so that your these jars will be downloaded from these jars will be downloaded, and these jars will be stored in local repository whenever it is required, or whenever you are running the application. It will load it to the class path, right? Whenever we are running this application, the jars will get loaded to the class path. See, in this, I'm going to write goal is basically in this particular Maven goal is clean install -p jar. You can always write clean package -p jar. Both of them will work. You know, since let's go with package, since I have explained everything package here, so you can go clean package -p jar. Run. Once this jar, Java archive thing is working, that means we can go and enable that Spring Servlet. It will work for a while. That also I will show you. Uh, yeah. So build is done. Let's go and run it. So started, right? I have maximized the console. I know it will go, it will not show any satisfactory issue now. So the dependencies are added. Yes, it continuing. Now, before that, you need to make sure that your server is running. That is one of the things you have to make sure always. I always make sure my server, the database server is running, and I have queried my database also. Alright. So I'm going to take my ID here, 82. Testing to ID. Yeah. So server started. Now server started. Now let's go to this. HTTP colon / localhost colon 8080 plus welcome message is coming, right? Now let's go and HTTP localhost user / API question mark ID equal to that ID. See, I'm able to fetch the record from the backend database, right? See here in console also, these values are there, right? The queries. Now I will show you about the properties. I was talking about some properties file, right? I was talking about some properties file that is this naming strategy properties, right? See, if I don't configure this naming strategy properties file, what will happen? I will show you. And then we'll discuss. I just commented out this naming properties file, all of them. I'll go and do a Maven build and then I will run the main method. I'm doing a Maven build. Change in properties file. You know, in nowadays, there is something called hot deployment. You change the code in Eclipse, save the Java file, it will automatically deploy the application into JBoss or Tomcat. That is what always called hot deployment. So each and every time deploy to the JBoss or Tomcat. So if you have integrated Tomcat or JBoss with other Eclipse, you can always go with hot deployment. You change the Java file, you do the control S, it will deploy and then you can test. Nowadays, Spring Boot has made the life easier. You are not required to build a web archive and deploy it in Tomcat. You can directly right click on main method and test your application. Because of that advantage, people are not worried about the deployment each and time changing the code and deploying. It is faster way of development, right? Faster way of developing application. So this is how the uh, application build is done. So let's run it and see what actually happening. You see, if I hit this URL, what will happen? Application unexpected error occurred. Status cost 500. Internal application error. Java has thrown some exception. See here. I commented these naming strategies, right? So see here in the console. You see select person underscore ID, first name underscore name, last name underscore name, middle underscore name, right? So this is how the query got created. Person underscore, first underscore name, person underscore ID, last underscore name, middle underscore this. Right? So how come this underscore got added? How come this underscore got added? Whereas I have defined, if you see this person class, I have defined at the rate column name equal to person ID, at the rate column name equal to first name, at the rate column name equal to last name, at the rate column name equal to middle name, at the rate column name equal to age, at the rate column equal to gender. So middle name there is no underscore, last name there is no underscore, first name is no, there is no underscore. See, if you don't define or this attribute or these properties in the properties file, the Spring JPA, it has auto configuration enabled. So Spring JPA, the default naming strategy, it take as your sense snake coding or snake rule strategy, which database users or DBA used to follow. Right? They will always have first underscore name, last underscore name. That is a kind of standard for them. They are following it from very beginning. And whenever they say two words, right, is like first name, first is and name is two words. So they always put a underscore in between that. So all the columns they create accordingly. So that is the strategy this guy is following as a default strategy, right? And if there is something called camel case ID also in naming strategy. Camel case, when you write Java code, we follow camel case strategy, camel case coding style, right? Camel case style. But we never follow snake's case. Snake case, SNAKE, snake, right? Case. We never follow that. That is a DBA guys, they follow that. I don't know why someone recommended, might have recommended to do this kind of uh, default strategy while Spring Boot is taking care of auto configuration or configuration. Say himself. See, database architect, what they will have their own way of doing it. We should not, look into that aspect of development. What it is here, person, I have defined at the rate column name equal to person ID. The name as it is I have in my table. Person, ID, first name, last name, middle name. I have defined it in that way. And I have defined that way in at the rate column name, at the rate first name, at the rate for person ID, I have defined it in that way. Person ID, at the rate column name, person ID. For first name, I have defined in that way, at the rate column name, first name. See, if your entity class is already defining the column with attribute at the column and defining the name in that column, then what should happen? Then your this string default mapping should not be considered. It should take the values from the at the rate column name. The architecture who has designed this default mapping or default naming strategy, he should have taken care of it. He should have looked into it. At the rate column name is there. That means don't consider any default naming strategy. Use the naming strategy or read the name from the at the rate column name and use it. I don't know. Since the architect who has designed it, he has created an error here. We should not talk about that. We should always think how to fix that, how to make our application run. So whenever you are designing any application, whenever we are talking about design, development, or at high level and low level, you should always be careful. You should always be careful the way you are designing. See, I'm mentioning at that column name equal to person ID. If I would not have mentioned, then there is a problem. Since I'm mentioning it, the default mapping should not have worked here. It should have taken the first name from particularly my name value, and it should have taken personality particularly from my name value. So here the person who has designed at high level and low level, the person for the default naming strategy, he has done little bit of he has created little bit of error here, right? So the best way a person has to think, Hibernate is providing a direct column name, and if name is available, I should not create my own until unless in properties file the configuration is mentioned, right? If name attribute is not mentioned, if name has the only in some places we will have only at column, we will not define the name equal to this. The reason behind that, always the reason behind that, that property value or property, the way the property is written, it matches with the database column name or table column name, right? So we don't write the name equal to, or do we, that some value we don't give. Since I have given your name equal to value, default mapping or default naming strategy would not have, default naming strategy would not have used here. It is a wrong approach the person has taken. So let's not talk about that. What we can do to fix this particular issue in application.properties file, here spring .jpa.hibernate.naming.physical hyphen strategy. This strategy we have to write. Along with that, we have to write implicit strategy. So this physical naming strategy standard IMPL org.hibernate.boot.model.naming.physical naming strategy standard IMPL that need to be configured in this. Along with that, implicit strategy. So if you see, I have two implicit strategy here. One is basically for JPA 2.0 and the other is for JPA 1.0. The line number 14 string.jpa.hibernate.naming.implicit strategy. If you are using JPA 1.0, you can use this strategy, implicit naming strategy, legacy JPA IMPL. If you are using implicit strategy is JPA 2.0, then you can use implicit strategy JPA complaint IMPA. Right? In my case, this JPA 1.0 and 2.0 both are working. So here, I just enabled one. That is if you configure that property and it will start continuing, it will start working. You do not require to worry about your column name. This underscore will go off, right? This underscore is basically, all the DBA when they design database table name. I don't know what kind of mindset they had at that time. I mean, the people they can only tell what kind of mindset they had at that time. They will always have your fast underscore name. They might have seen something, or they might want to make it more readable by differentiating the words. That can be another approach, right? So fast underscore word name, last underscore name. This is not required anywhere. Right? This is not required because nowadays no one is watching database other than SQL developer or DBA. No one will be watching the database and table. People only the application users, right? The person who are using the application, they will only use the application. They will not flip what is happening in the background or behind. So they might have created this snake coding style only because of readability. That is the only one aspect which I can look into. Right. Again, the Spring Boot, they also did a problem while designing this architect or while designing this low level implementation. They, even if you have at the rate column name, they are not taking it from there. They are using the default naming strategy and using snake coding style by by adding this underscore in between first and the second word. Right? So that is not the right approach. If a person is already defined at the rate column and given the name value, so it should take the name value as it is without any consideration of any naming strategy or anything. So it is always depends on you how you are creating. It is always depends on you how you are creating, what kind of design you are having at high level and at low level. That will make your product more efficient, more usable, more readable, more developer friendly. So this is person.java done, and we have to build once because I've changed the properties file. The build is done. Now let's run it once and see if it is working running. That means the configuration are properly set for the runtime environment. I'll stop and I will go and do it in command prompt. Yeah, before that, I'll show one more thing, the aspect oriented, programming or the logging aspect. I missed to enable it in application context XML. That's a task for you. If you're looking all my videos till date, you can always go and enable in application context XML and you can see how it is working. I will do it for annotation here and show you. Let's go and hit the URL, right? And see if it is coming. It's working. Now here, let me hit this. See here it is, you are seeing this application, this thing unexpected error. Now if I hit it, it will give me the records, right? I'll take one more thing here. In this properties file, if you have enabled, in this properties file, if you have enabled this physical, sorry, DDL auto update or create, what it would have done in this person table, it would have create, few more columns. Person underscore ID, first underscore name, last underscore name, middle underscore name. It did. It created, when I was trying this application yesterday evening, it created for me this extra column. Then what I did, then I switched off these properties. DDL auto none and DDL, I don't need DDL, so I made all DDL auto none and false. Otherwise, it will add alter your table to add more columns with a snake coding style, right? Now, when it is adding, if you have not looked into a database, you would have run everything would have created, everything would have run, and you would have tried with a ID here, the same ID. I just changed this ID, the same 82 ID, 5382 ID, you would have got this error. ID, this thing is not found. The reason is it will go and search from the person underscore ID column. Person underscore ID column is not the column, real column that got created because of default naming strategy. Okay? So always you should be very careful while doing development. Sometime it spoils your environment and it up your lots of time. Now let's go back for the logging aspect. So here at the rate aspect, right? And then at the rate component. And in after we have tried at the rate after and before we have tried at the rate before. Rate before. This is what we have to write and we have to configure the execution. We have to write the execution here. Let me stop the Tomcat. Right. Execution, what I will do, I'll just copy from the other class. It will be faster. This is what the string execution string, right? What all it will execute. This is the execution string. The join part, point part, I have explained already in that AOP session. You can go and always watch that. The same execution with package structure is no change. We'll copy this for the app for the after. If you see, this is the execution, right? Here, this same example, the same class I have used in my previous one of the session where I've explained what is AOP, what is joint point, what is point part, what is advice. I've explained there. You can watch that video. What I will do, I will not use system.out.println here. I will use logger. For using logger, I need one more thing here. I need to create the logger instance. I'll get this logger instance. I'll create a logger instance here, and then use logger.info. See, you can have logging aspect for info. You can have logging aspect for your debug. You can have logging aspect for one of the project where I was working. I didn't had any logger statement inside other classes. All the loggers are getting generated from the logger logging aspect classes. I have different logging aspect for info, warning, and debug. These all are used to uh, these all piece of code used to get injected in the starting of the method and ending of the method. See, after advice and before advice method. So this piece of code will get injected before, just at the calling of method, and this will get just after the calling of the method, right? So this is how this code get injected there. And what happened in your class, if you talk about this person service, if you see in all the methods we have logout.info in the entry and in the exit. So this logout.info in entry and exit is not required because this will be injected by this logging aspect class. Right? Now you will see when I run this class how it actually works. So now here we have to write one more enable that logging aspect, right? Otherwise it won't work. Enable aspect auto aspect auto pursuit. Now let's start it. Okay, I am using my time in some better way. Though I don't have a job, I'm trying to use my time in a better way. I'm creating these videos for engineering students and for fresher. You can always connect from here, and if you have any question, any concern, you can always ask me. See, here the server is started. Let's go and run it. Let's hit the same ID. Yeah, I got it. The response. Let's go back to the console. Okay. See, I'm not able to differentiate where is that logger, right? But here you see, this is the logging aspect, right? So what I will do not to differentiate it, I will put some characters so that it will be uniquely identified wherever these logs are coming. And few like this big line, right? This is, this I used to do when I have to debug my application. When I was working, all our traditional application enterprise archive having inside it so many EJP, so many WAR files, so many logs will be getting generated from the whole application. It is difficult to identify. So I put some while debugging. I'll put these big lines to easily identify that log, easily readable, rather searching the word by word or doing control find from the test file. It is clearly visible. Okay, from this line to this line, I have to verify where what is going wrong. So this that time, the development tools and techniques were not that advanced. Now everything is available. You can easily debug an application, and nowadays all are microservices. It's not like big fat enterprise archive which has lots of EJBs, lots of web archives inside it. It's not like that, right? So let's run it now. The application server started, right? Yes. Still running. So now let's go and hit the same user ID and go back to the console. See the line is here, right? See, this is after at the end of the method call. One is for service, one is for DAO. See, person, I will tell you, it's not coming. The log is not coming from the REST controller because the package structure is different in REST controller. The wildcard which is mentioned in that Eclipse, for aspect A, that wildcard is referring only to the com.exe, I will go back to the logging aspect. See, com.example.satya. Then will be another package that is either service or DAO package. Then will be the class, and then it is all the methods, right? So if I add one more star here, it will go for the person that REST controller because REST controller is com.example.satya. Then the REST, then the API package, and then the class name for star, and then the method, right? So one more star is required. That is the reason this log is not showing us for controller. It is showing from the person service. It is showing from the person service. And if you see my that if you see my that AOP program video from the previous session, you'll be able to understand more in detail how this wildcard is created. Here I have shown you both for application context XML in XML file how you are doing it and how you are doing it in annotation. So this is done. Now I will go. I will do it in command prompt. Before that, I'll just go and make it deployable in Tomcat as a var, right? Just what you need to do, uncomment this. So now this is who are enabled now. Web archive enabled. Uncomment this. This is also now this application became now we have archive enabled who are enabled, right? Then let's go to the command prompt. So here personal information REST API main, right? First we have to go mbn hyphen package no mbn clean package, right? So since you have seen for jar, let me go and do for the var. Yeah. So the build is done. Let's go to the target folder. See in target folder you have this file. So I am using the same Tomcat, that pretty old Tomcat 11. Apache Tomcat 11. Let me go and open that Tomcat. I have taken backup of all these war file from here. I have cleaned this Tomcat. I have kept all this war file in backup, which I have shown you in previous examples. They are the war file, right? So I'll put this war file in this folder. I'll go to the bin folder and start the Tomcat. Let's go to the web folder. Still deploying. We're seeing so many logs. The reason behind that, in Log4j, I think I have configured it as all. That's why you're seeing so many. It started, and always when you hit or deploy it in Tomcat, you have to always go with a application context, right? So first we'll go with the application context, and then the welcome message. Here the port number is 8081. I have modified the port in one of the session. I have shown you. I missed that. So yeah, so it's coming. Now let's go here and put that application context here in front of the user and change the port number to 8081. See, the value came. Let's go to the console. See here, this is the values are coming here, right? The values came here in the console. And there will be one app.log somewhere it will be generated. Let's go and see. Here it is generated. Just these are all. Yeah, this is the file. I think now. Yes, this is the file now. Here it is showing. Right. Let's go back to the app.log and the log folder. Yeah, let's see this file. See, this is the file. This is a single file that we have so much of insert button generated. Here also you see the values are generated. Right. Let's go to the browser. Okay, this is personal information register here. I'm meeting, right? Let's go back to the here, the Tomcat web apps. That is personal information. So that means I'm in the wrong folder. Yeah, I think I did a wrong folder, wrong build. It is always being annotation rest API, right? This is because I don't see that symbols that equal to and the aspect which I have enabled. So that is in the wrong folder, wrong build. So this is the actual folder build, and here you see this is last build. It's created a jar, right? So let's go and do a build here. No, won't be wrong build. Please package I can be right. So let me stop the Tomcat. It's a wrong or I deployed, wrong build I deployed. Let me stop this and let me delete that from that particular web app. I was a little bit, I also was not able to realize that file name I have changed. How come personal? It is Spring annotation in POM, right? In POM, it is Spring. The name is Spring annotation REST API. It should become a Spring annotation REST API. It should not be personal information REST API. Yeah, the build is done. Let's go and see in the Spring annotation target folder. Yeah, see, okay, right. So let's go to the build folder. So now already it's there, no command prompt. I will just start it. Before that, let me clean this work folder from this particular Tomcat, so it will be faster. Clean or crash. Yeah, start up. Starting. This is database console. This is personal information based API. Let me end this. Otherwise, it will be confusion. And this is Spring annotation Tomcat, and this is Spring annotation project. Yeah. So all these we need. This server is starting. Let the server start. In between that, let me close this. Let me go to the folder. The folder and this log file. Let me delete this guy. This is already used because Tomcat server started fine. Let be that. Web archive is deployed. Let's see. Let me copy this and add the contest name. When you are applying the application, you can accordingly you can mention what all debug attributes you want or whatever log attributes you want to see here. I think mine it is all, that's why it is showing me all the logs. So development and during debugging it is fine, but during in production it should not enable all the. I'm trying to use my time in a best way. If you people are having enough time, try to use your time in the best way, right? Rather sitting, learn something, do something. I'm creating this video. If someone is watching, that is fine. If no one is watching, then it will be my future reference. See, I copied that contest name here and I'm hitting the server. I got the welcome message. Same thing I will do for this to fetch that, fetch this particular ID. Yeah, so it fetch this my name, Satyananda Sahu, my record. And what I will do, I will show you one more record also fetching, fetch my wife's record. My wife's record, see, first name is Madhusmita Sahu instead of Satyananda Sahu, first name to become Madhusmita, last name becomes Sahu, right? So this is how it is working. Let's go to the console and you see these lines. This is what I want to show. No, last application we didn't see this. I got confused. What happened? See, these are the, no, you can see these are the lines which is coming from logging aspect. Directly it is written logging aspect, right? Before and after. So this is how you deploy this your web archive or web application archive on Tomcat and if you test it. Right? So this is how I have shown you fully annotated application without any. I can run this parallelly this Tomcat and the jar file because embedded Tomcat in Spring REST jar will have 8080 port and this is having 8081 port it so it will not crash. It will be able to both the both the port will work and both the places application will be running. One is standalone, the other is as web application on Tomcat. Let's go back to this folder. What I will do minus p that already I have shown you this Java archive on Eclipse. Here also I will show you once. This is how it is, right? Here, when we are running the Java archive, we don't need any application context name. So let's go to the target folder. See, archive and the leaf folder. Now leaf folder will come. Yeah, leaf folder came. The build is done. Yeah, the build is done. So change the directory to the target folder and write Java app and jar. Then the jar name. In between that, I can show the log file in Tomcat. Right there also will have these logs got generated in that aspect. So while the server is static, let open this file upper plus plus